Okay, so again, remember you have a test this coming week, Monday the 27th. It'll be available from Monday the 27th through the end of Wednesday the 29th. You can take it in one of the university testing centers. If you take it in Birch Hall, you don't need an appointment. If you take it in one of the other two, Duncan or South Shepler, then you do need an appointment. If you're taking it off campus, you need to have a appropriate proctor. Okay, so federalism. The main thing about now there's plenty of discussion of this in the slides and in the book. What is federalism? Basically, it's a system where power is divided between different levels of government, in particular in the United States, national government and state government. And unlike other systems where power is divided between these two, but one level is basically reliant on the other level. So, for instance, the national government is reliant on the states for its existence, or the states or the provinces are reliant on the national government for their existence. In federalism, both national and state level have an independent constitutional existence because they both represent the people. Okay, and all of this is spelled out in a constitution. That's the definition that the book gives. It's in the slide. So again, you have different levels of government. Each level of government has its own independent constitutional standing. So it's not that the national government creates states or provinces as smaller administrative units and it can get rid of them if it wants. States and national government both have an independent constitutional standing and they both derive their authority from the people. Okay, and all this needs to be spelled out in a constitution. That's federalism. The United States was the first country to sort of pioneer this, again, as we've seen before, largely through necessity because the states were already there. The colonies were created by basically by the Crown of Great Britain, and when they became states, when there was a revolution and they gained independence, the colonies became states, and the states were already there, and there was no way that they were just going to dissolve themselves to become part of a national government. So federalism was pioneered more out of necessity than anything else, but again, it was pioneered by the United States. The main thing from the first half or so of the slides, the main thing to focus on is, or that I want to explain, because most of this should be clear from the textbook and from the PowerPoint slides. The main thing I want to explain is the concept of implied powers. Okay, so we talk some about how states have powers under federalism, obviously. The national government has powers as well, okay? There are the enumerated powers. Enumerated basically just means listed out. So those things that are explicitly mentioned. For instance, the power to tax. The Constitution explicitly says the federal government, Congress, has the power to tax. It has the power to coin money. It has the power to regulate commerce. Okay, it has the power to provide for national defense. These things are enumerated, listed by name. They're actually named, and it says, Congress, the national government has the power to tax, to coin money, etc., to regulate commerce. Okay, so these are actually mentioned clearly, explicitly, in black and white. There is also the necessary and proper clause, and remember we talked about this when we talked about Brutus. Brutus said that necessary and proper clause, which says that Congress has certain specific powers, and then it has the ability to pass any laws it thinks are necessary and proper to carry out these functions. Brutus says Brutus said that is basically just a blank check. That is just an authorization for Congress to pass pretty much any law that it wants to. Now, again, he was worried that Congress would do things like abolish the state governments, which obviously has never happened. But he was right that the necessary and proper clause basically does open the way for Congress to pass all sorts of new laws and for the federal government to acquire all sorts of new powers under the idea that they're necessary and proper for the federal government to carry out these things, okay? So the necessary and proper clause, the idea is that there are some powers that are implied by the Constitution, okay? The idea is, let's say that you're at home and your mother is making some cookies and she says, go get some milk. Okay, and you go out of the house and you come back half an hour later and you don't have any milk. And your mother says, I told you to go get milk. And you say, well, I was walking and the store is like 2 miles away and I just got tired, so I came back. And she said, why didn't you take the car? And you said, well, you didn't say I could take the car. I didn't know. So no, okay. So she says, okay, no, take the car, go to the store. Drive down that street, it's right down the road, just drive straight down the road, go to the store, get some milk. You come back, she says, still no milk. She says, well, what happened? You say, well, there was a detour, and you didn't say, you said go straight down that street, and when there was a detour, you never said I could go off the street, so I didn't. She says, no, take the detour, go to the store. You come back, you still don't have milk. She says, well, now what happened? And you say, well, I went to the store, and when I got there, they wanted money for the milk, and you didn't tell me I could spend any money, so I didn't want to, so I didn't spend any money, so I just had to come back without any milk. Okay, I mean, this would be ridiculous if you actually did do this, but this is the idea. When your mother says, go to the store and buy some milk, she's not going to spell out every single thing that you can or will have to do in order to make that happen. Okay, she's not going to tell you, take the car, this is the route you should go. If that route is blocked, go this other way, spend money if you have to, etc. She tells you to do something fairly simple. Go get some milk. It's implied that you can take the car, that you can spend some money, that you can, go whatever way is best to get to the store. Okay, all these things are implied. She's not going to spell all of this out. This is the same argument for implied powers in the Constitution. The idea is that, the Constitution, first of all, the Constitution cannot list every single power that Congress may need to have. It just can't. It can't anticipate everything that might have to happen. Okay, even if it couldn't list them all out. It would just be too long. So the idea is it mentions some of the major areas in which Congress can operate, in which the federal government can operate, and it's implied that Congress has powers to do some of these things. Okay, the doctrine of implied powers was first really established in a Supreme Court case, McCulloch v. Maryland. This was where the Congress had founded a national bank, and they wanted to collect, they wanted to collect taxes. In any case, Maryland challenged paying taxes to the national bank, and they said the Constitution never mentions a national bank. Nowhere in the Constitution does it say Congress has the power to found a national bank. Therefore, we refuse to recognize this, and we refuse to pay taxes to the national bank. The Supreme Court said it doesn't say, you're right, the phrase national bank never appears in the Constitution. The Constitution never says that Congress has the ability to found a national bank, but it does say that Congress has the ability to regulate commerce. And if it seems necessary and proper to Congress to found a national bank in order to carry out this task or this power of regulating commerce, then they have a constitutional right to do that. That's implied by the Constitution, specifically by the necessary and proper clause. So again, national bank is not mentioned, but regulating commerce is. And it says that Congress has the power to pass whatever laws it thinks are necessary and proper to carry out these functions, to carry out these powers. If it thinks that founding a national bank is necessary and proper to do that, then Congress has the constitutional power to do so. This is what the Supreme Court said in McCulloch v. Maryland. I think that was in 1819. And that is when implied powers were established. And again, the idea is Congress has all kinds of powers that are implied by the Constitution, but not mentioned by name. Because again, not all these things could be spelled out. So again, this made it possible then for Congress to pass all sorts of laws and for the federal government to gain much more power through this necessary and proper clause and the doctrine of implied powers. Okay, so that's what implied powers are.